The scream ripped through the silence like a shattered bottle on concrete. But it was mine, trapped in my throat, echoing only in the hollow of my chest as I bolted upright in bed. Sweat soaked my sheets, the kind that clings like regret. And there he was, Alex, my roommate, my everything, frozen mid-motion at the foot of the mattress, his phone's flash still blooming like a guilty firework in the dark. "Shit, Jax, it's not what it looks like," he stammered. But the lie hung heavier than the humid New York summer air. Because in that split-second glare of light, I'd seen it, the video thumbnail on his screen. My naked body sprawled vulnerable in sleep. Twisted into something pornographic. Something shared. I lunged forward, heart slamming like a subway train off the rails, and snatched the phone from his grip. My fingers trembled as I swiped. What? Place, and there it was. Time-stamped just minutes ago, a clip of me, oblivious and exposed, my breaths deep and trusting while shadows moved around me. Likes were already trickling in from faceless accounts. Comments blooming like weeds. Hot AF. Tag your boy. Nausea clawed up my throat. Hot and bitter. Because this wasn't some drunken slip-up at a frat party. This was us, our tiny Hell's Kitchen walk-up. The sacred mess of takeout boxes and late-night confessions we'd built into a home. Alex, with his crooked smile and calloused hands from bartending gigs. The guy who'd held me through my first panic attack after Dad's funeral. Who'd whispered "I love you" against my neck like it was a vow. And now, he'd turned me into content. For what? Clout? Kish? The betrayal burned deeper than any hookup gone wrong. It was a knife in the spine of every "I trust you" we'd ever exchanged. But that was later, the unraveling, the screaming match that shook the thin walls until Mrs. Kolsky downstairs banged her broom like a war drum. In that first frozen heartbeat, as Alex's face crumpled from shock to shame, I didn't yell. I just stared, the room spinning slow like a bad acid trip I never asked for. The city outside our window hummed indifferent honks from cabs on 9th Avenue. The distant wail of sirens that always sounded like lost souls crying for help. We'd come here 2 years ago, fresh out of NYU with film degrees gathering dust, chasing that American dream bullshit, indie scripts by day, dive bar hustles by night. Alex with his easy charm, landing modeling side gigs that paid our rent. Me, Jackson Hale, the quiet editor piecing together wedding videos for strangers while dreaming of something real. We'd clicked in the dorms over stolen glances and shared joints. But it wasn't until that rain-soaked night in sophomore year, when he kissed me under the glow of a bodega sign, that the world tilted. "You're safe with me," he'd said then. And I'd believed him. Good. How I'd believed. By dawn, the apartment reeked of stale coffee and unspoken accusations. I sat on the fire escape, legs dangling over the alley graffiti, "Fuck the system" scrawled in fading red, nursing a mug that scalded my palms. Alex hovered inside, pacing like a caged wolf, his blonde hair disheveled, those green eyes I'd once drowned in now rimmed red from crying. Please. It was a dare. These influencers, they pay big for real stuff. And I thought it'd be anonymous. "No one knows it's you." His voice cracked, raw as the gravel under my boots, but it landed like another slap. Anonymous? My face was half visible in the frame. The tattoo on my ribs, a compass rose for the dad who'd navigated me through Mom's abandonment, glaring like a signature. I'd woken to his touch earlier that night, gentle at first, tracing my skin in the dark, lulling me back under. Trusting. Always trusting. He'd been my anchor in this concrete jungle, where every corner hit a grindstone for your soul. New York didn't give a damn about your queerness unless it was trending. We'd learned that quick. Holding hands only in the shadows of Washington Square Park. Stealing kisses in the back of Ubers that smelled like other people's regrets. Alex got it. The fear of family back in Ohio disowning us. The side eyes from straight roommates who'd jokingly left Bible verses on our fridge. We'd built walls around our love, movie marathons with Brokeback Mountain on repeat. Whispering futures over pierogies from the Polish spot on 10th. He was the one who pushed me to submit that short film to Tribeca. The one who'd held my hand through the rejection emails that tasted like failure. And sex? It was fire, slow burns in the shower. Frantic against the kitchen counter when the world felt too heavy. He knew my scars, the ex who'd outed me in high school. The therapy sessions I skipped because who has time for healing when rent's due? But fame had been gnawing at him lately. A serpent in our Eden. Those modeling shoots turned into TikTok thirst traps. Then OnlyFans teases that he swore were just for fun. It's empowering. Owning my body in a world that wants to control it. I nodded. Supportive. Because that's what you do for the man you love. Swallow the unease like bad diner eggs. Last week, he'd shown me a DM from some influencer collective. Collab on a sleep series. Vulnerable. Authentic vids. $5,000 easy. His eyes had lit up like Times Square at midnight. And I'd laughed it off. As long as it's not me snoring on camera. Famous last words. But the video was down. He deleted it in a frenzy. Accounts suspended after my frantic reports, but the damage? It lingered like cigarette smoke in your hair. Notifications buzzed on my own phone. Friends from back home demanding, "Is this you?" With screenshots. My sister. Texting from Cleveland. WTF? Jex? Call me. And Alex. Slumping onto the fire escape beside me. His knee brushing mine like old times. I fucked up. Royally. But I swear. It was never about humiliating you. I wanted us to get out of this shithole. The real place. Not scraping by. His hand reached for mine. Tentative. And for a treacherous second, I let it, felt the warmth I'd craved in lonely college nights. But then the flash replayed in my mind. The exposure. And I yanked away. You turned me into your prop. Alex. While I slept. Like I was nothing. The day blurred into a haze of avoidance, me holing up in the edit bay at my freelance gig downtown. Splicing couples' vows into montages that mocked my own shattered ones. The office overlooked the Hudson. Gray waters churning like my gut. And I chain-smoked menthols on the roof. Ignoring calls from Alex's mom, bless her. The only one who'd flown the rainbow flag back home. By evening, I dragged myself to the Stonewall Inn. That sacred dive where history whispered in the jukebox blues. A gin and tonic later. And there was Marcus. A barback I'd crushed on freshman year. Sliding onto the stool with a grin that said trouble. Jax Hale. Looking like you lost a fight with a ghost. What's the story? His dark curls bounced as he leaned in. Cologne cutting through the stale beer fog. Safe? Uncomplicated flirtation. We talked for hours. The kind of easy rhythm Alex and I had lost to his ambition. Marcus got the scene. The grinder ghosts. The pride parades that felt more performative than liberating some days. You deserve someone who sees you. Not sells you, he said. his hand on my arm steady. No cameras lurking. For the first time since dawn, belly deep, and it cracked the ice in my chest. But as last call echoed, guilt slithered back. Alex was waiting, probably pacing our apartment like a condemned man, flowers wilting on the counter from some half-assed apology run to the bodega. I stumbled home at 2 a.m., the city a neon blur of regret. The door clicked soft, and there he was on the couch, eyes hollow, a bottle of my favorite bourbon half gone. Went out. No accusation, just defeat. I nodded, collapsing beside him, the space between us a chasm wider than the East River. I needed air. To not feel like a fucking exhibit. He nodded, slow, then pulled a notebook from his lap, pages filled with scribbled scenes, our story outlined like a script. I quit the gigs. All of it. Wrote this instead. The real us. His voice broke, and damn if it didn't tug at the frayed edges of my heart. We didn't sleep together that night, too raw, too jagged, but we talked till the sun clawed over the skyline, peeling back layers like old wallpaper. He confessed the pressure, his own dad calling him a disappointment for ditching finance for arts. The fear of becoming another queer kid couchsurfing in Brooklyn. The video? A desperate grab at escape, twisted by his own insecurities into betrayal. I hated him for it, I did, but I saw the boy I'd fallen for. The one who'd cried with me at moonlight, who'd mapped my body like a constellation worth charting. Forgiveness? Not yet. But understanding crept in, a quiet tide eroding the rage. Weeks bled into a fragile truce. Alex threw himself into writing, our apartment transforming into a warren of coffee stains and dog-eared screenplays. I picked up shifts at a queer youth center uptown, editing docs on coming-out stories that mirrored my own jagged path. Marcus became a friend, texts about dive bars. No strings, but Alex noticed. The jealousy a low simmer that forced honest talks over late-night pizza. I get it if you walk, he'd say. Voice small. But fight for me. Let me earn it back. And slowly, against every instinct screaming run, I did. We set boundaries, no phones in bed. Transparency like gospel. Sex returned tentative, then fierce, reclaiming what the flash had stolen. His touches reverent. My moans a defiance. But New York has a way of testing resolutions. Fall hit with a vengeance, leaves scorching Central Park red as old wounds, and Alex's script-landed bites. A producer from Sundance emailed, wanting that raw edge. Excitement buzzed like subway static, but so did doubt. One night, post-reading at an Alphabet City cafe, he came home lit, champagne fizzing. They love the betrayal arc. Messy. I forced a smile. But inside, a tremor. Was I just plot fodder again? The real storm brewed at Thanksgiving. Ellie flew in. All Midwestern bluntness and pie from Mom's recipe. Eyeing Alex like he'd grown horns. Over turkey from the corner deli. She cornered me in the bathroom. He outed you online. Checks. That's not love, that's trauma porn. Her words landed like bricks. And that night, as Alex snored beside me, trust rebuilt on eggshells, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling cracks mapping my fractures. By morning, I was packing a bag. I need time. Real time. Not this half-life. He didn't fight it. Just nodded. Tears carving tracks down his stubbled cheeks. Go. But no, I'm here. Fighting every day. I crashed at Marcus's in Williamsburg. A loft smelling of sage and fresh starts. Where we finally crossed that line, bodies tangling in sheets that didn't hold ghosts. It was good. Uncomplicated. But hollow. Because as snow dusted the bridges, I missed Alex's chaos, the way he'd hum show tunes off-key. Burn toast but make it taste like home. Christmas Eve found me wandering Bryant Park's market, lights twinkling like false promises. When my phone lit up, a video from Alex? Not the nightmare kind. In our empty apartment, reading from his script, the scene where the lovers forgive, not for perfection, but for the humanity in the mess. You're my compass. Boys. Ellie texted too, he's changed. But you decide. Heart pounding. I hailed a cab back to Hell's Kitchen. Snow swirling like confetti for fools. The door opened to him, script in hand, eyes wide with hope. I don't deserve you, he whispered as I stepped in, our breaths mingling in the cold draft. But I'll spend forever proving I can. I kissed him then, fierce, forgiving, the kind that tastes like second chances and city grit. Not all scars fade, mine still twinge at 3 a.m. A reminder that trust is a leap, not a given. But in the quiet after, wrapped in arms that had once betrayed but now held true, I chose us. Human. Achingly real. New York kept spinning, sirens, films, heartbreaks, but we'd carved our corner, writing our own ending, one vulnerable page at a time. The holidays thawed into a tentative spring. But New York's pulse never slows. And neither did the undercurrent of doubt rippling through our rebuilt world. Alex's script, Shuttered Hearts, got greenlit for a short run at an off-Broadway hole-in-the-wall in the East Village, raw theater for the broke and beautiful. The kind where audiences sip cheap wine and nod knowingly at every queer gut punch. Rehearsals swallowed him whole, late nights stumbling home smelling of stage smoke and other actors' cologne. Collapsing into bed with lines still tumbling from his lips. I'd watch him sometimes, from the wings, his voice cracking on the betrayal monologue, the one cribbed straight from our hellish dawn, and feel a twisted pride mingled with that old knife twist of fear. Is this healing? Or just monetizing the wound? I threw myself into the youth center gig, editing footage of kids like 16-year-old Theo, who showed up with bruises from his dad's lessons and a sketchbook full of drag queen portraits. Cutting those stories, interviews lit by string lights in the center's rec room. Tears smudged on cheeks as they claimed I'm here. I'm queer, it grounded me. Reminded me why I'd fought for this life. One afternoon, Theo cornered me in the supply closet, Sharpies and poster board tumbling like confessions. Mr. Hail, Jackson, you ever get scared? What if love's just another setup for pain? His eyes, wide and shadowed, mirrored my own at that age. I swallowed hard, thinking of Alex's flash, the exposure that still haunted my dreams. Every day. But you build armor. And you choose who gets inside it. Ellie extended her visit through New Year's, crashing on our lumpy futon and turning the apartment into a estrogen-fueled intervention zone. She'd grill Alex over brunch at Veselka, borscht steaming between us like a blood oath, probing with that big sister laser. So, therapy? Boundaries? Or is this just performative allyship? He took it like a champ. No defensiveness, Just nods, and I'm trying. That sounded genuine. One night, tipsy on Ukrainian vodka, she pulled me aside on the fire escape. The city a glittering beast below. He's owning it. Checks. But you're glowing quieter. Don't lose yourself in fixing him. Her hugs smelled like home, cinnamon and Cleveland snow, and for the first time, I admitted it aloud. I love him still. Stupidly. But I'm terrified it'll break me again. Marcus faded to platonic texts. Hit me for coffee? No pressure, a mercy. Because crossing that bridge had felt like rebellion, not release. Alex noticed the distance, though. And one rainy February evening, as thunder rattled the windows like divine disapproval, he confronted it over Low Main from the spot on Amsterdam. You and Marcus, did it mean something? Rain streaked the glass, blurring the neon open sign across the street, and I set down my chopsticks. The truth, a weight I'd carried too long. It was a night. After you shattered me. But it didn't fix anything. You do. His face, that beautiful, broken map I'd memorized, softened, and he reached across the Formica table, thumb tracing my knuckles. I hate that I pushed you there. But I'm glad you took space. Means you're stronger than I deserve. Rehearsals ramped up, and with them, the cast, a whirlwind of theater queers, all sharp wit and sharper cheekbones, orbiting Alex like moths to his flame. There was Lena, the director with a buzz cut and a penchant for manifestos, Javier, the lead opposite Alex, whose stage kisses lingered a beat too long in my peripheral vision. Jealousy wasn't rational. It knew the math of forgiveness, but it gnawed, whispering what if in the quiet hours. One post-rehearsal pickup at the theater. I lingered in the alley, fog from my breath mingling with exhaust, and overheard Javier's laugh. Low and intimate. You're electric up there. That chemistry? Off the charts. Alex's reply was muffled, but the easy camaraderie stung like salt in a fresh cut. I didn't accuse progress. Right, but that night, in the dim glow of our bedside lamp, I claimed him harder. Hands pinning wrists, mouths bruising in a rhythm that drowned out doubts. Mine, I growled against his throat, and he arched, gasping yes. Our bodies a tangle of sweat and salvation. Afterward, spent and sticky, he traced the compass tattoo with reverent fingers. This saved you once. Let it guide us now. Sleep came easier then. His heartbeat a steady drum against my back. But dawn brought the first crack in our fragile peace. It started with a DM, an anonymous tip to my inbox, time-stamped 4:17 a.m., the witching hour for digital sins. Ask your boy about the after-party footage. He's playing with fire again. Attached, a grainy clip, phone shot in what looked like our bathroom mirror, Alex shirtless, Javier's hands on his hips, lips brushing necks in a mock serenade that screamed more than friends. My stomach dropped like the express elevator in the Empire State. Rage and nausea tag-teaming until I retched into the sink. Was this revenge porn 2.0? Or just sloppy betrayal? History rhyming in the worst way? I didn't confront him then. Work called. A deadline for a Pride doc that ironically featured stories of resilience. But the clip burned in my pocket, the phantom itch, and by lunch, I'd stormed the youth center early, blasting Call Me By Your Fire in the edit suite until Theo poked his head in. You okay, boss? Looked like you saw a ghost. Kid had no idea. I forced a grin, ruffling his hair. Just city blues. What's your poison today? Drag tutorials or poetry slams? Distraction was my drug. But it wore thin fast. That evening, Alex bounded in late. Script bag slung over his shoulder. Buzzing about killer notes from Lena. Dinner was Thai takeout. The kind with extra basil that usually sparked food fights. But I picked at my pad CW. The clip looping silent in my mind. Finally, as he rinsed plates, I slid the phone across the counter. Explain. His face drained of color. Suds dripping forgotten from his hands. Jack's shit? It's nothing. Rehearsal improv. Javier straight? For fuck's sake, method acting. But the hesitation, the averted eyes? It screamed the opposite of trust. We exploded then. Words flying like shrapnel, me accusing him of patterns. Him defending with your paranoid. It's art. The neighbors thumped the wall. The familiar soundtrack. But this fight dug deeper, unearthing the videos Rodite thought we'd buried. You exposed me once, I shouted. Voice raw as the winter wind off the river. Now you're flirting with fire for authenticity? I'm not your muse, I won't be your martyr. He crumpled against the fridge. Sliding to the linoleum. Sobs racking that frame I'd once thought unbreakable. I miss the old me, the us before ambition ate me alive. Help me. Don't let me lose you. I left him there. Storming to the fire escape. Where the city sprawled indifferent. A million lights mocking our tiny drama. Rain slicked my skin. Mixing with tears I hadn't permissioned. And I called Ellie at 2 a.m. Voicemail. But it poured out, the clip, the fear, the love that wouldn't quit. Am I a fool for staying? Her reply pinged at dawn, no. You're human. But set your line. Brother. Love shouldn't cost your soul. Spring equinox brought clarity, or at least a ceasefire. Alex canceled a cast party. Showed up at the youth center with coffee and an apology letter, handwritten. Horrible. Promising therapy sessions together at a sliding scale spot in Chelsea. We went, cramped office smelling of patchouli in progress. Unpacking the video like surgeons excising a tumor. I objectified you because I objectified myself, he admitted one session. Was the queer kid from Ohio? Chasing validation in pixels. But you're my real. The therapist? A non-binary sage with tattoos of Audre Lorde quotes? Nodded. Healing's not linear. To spiral, back around. But higher. Theo's story aired in the doc, his coming out monologue going viral in queer feeds, and Pride Month loomed like a rainbow promise. Alex's play previewed to a packed house of friends and strangers. The betrayal scene landing like a thunderclap. Applause thundering as he and Javier locked eyes on stage. Chemistry crackling but contained. Backstage, Javier clapped my shoulder, your man's a genius. And from what he says, you're the heart. No sleaze. Just respect, a bomb on the clip scar. But high tides pull under. And ours crested at the full opening. Critics raved, a searing queer odyssey of trust's fragile architecture. And suddenly, Alex was fielding offers, LA pilots, streaming deals that whispered escape velocity. Over rooftop beers at the play's after-party, skyline glittering like fool's gold. Turn to me, buzzed and beautiful. What if we go? Start fresh, palm trees? No ghosts. My gut twisted. New York was our scar tissue. The grit that made us. And what if you chase the next high? Leave me exposed again? The fight simmered low that night. But simmered nonetheless. Words withheld like loaded guns. I crashed at Ellie's hotel. Her arms a sisterly fortress as we binge-watched the L-word reruns. Laughing through the ache. You're my hero. You know, she murmured. For loving fierce. Even when it hurts. By morning. Resolve hardened, I'd fight. But on my terms. Returning home at dawn. Alex was awake. Script abandoned for a new one, blank pages waiting. Stay, I said. Pulling him close. Build with me. Here. His kiss was salt and surrender. Bodies reconnecting in the gray light. Slow and sacred. But as summer heat baked the streets, the offers piled up. Temptation a siren's call. Trust? It was a daily recommitment. A vow etched in sweat and whispers. And in the quiet, when his hand found mine under the sheets, I believed, shaken, but standing. Forever's a long New York minute. But we'd chase it together. One vulnerable heartbeat at a time. Summer in the city is a beast, humid jaws snapping at your sanity. Air thick as regret. Turning our shoebox apartment into a pressure cooker for all the unspoken. Alex's play wrapped its run to sold-out whispers of genius. But the buzz brought vultures. Agents in sleek suits slinking into our lives with promises of residuals and red carpets. He'd pace the living room. Phone glued to his ear. Voice pitching higher with each yes. We're interested. I'd watch from the kitchenette. Stirring instant ramen that tasted like cardboard. Wondering if this was ambition or addiction, the same wolf that had led him to that phone flash 2 lifetimes ago. I'd landed a steady gig editing for a queer streaming series. Aloud. Piecing together episodes on everything from trans athletes to bi icons in boardrooms. It paid enough for AC units that wheezed like asthmatic lovers. And the commute, subway rides sardined with strangers' elbows, gave me headspace to breathe. Theo. Now a center volunteer. Tagged along sometimes. His drag name Tequila Sunrise earning giggles from the crew. You're killing it, kid, I'd say. High-fiving after a late cut. His grin. All teeth and triumph. Chipped at my cynicism. If a scared teen could bloom here, maybe so could we. But Alex? The offers gnawed at him. A low fever. One sweltering July night. Post-rehearsal for a callback gig, a web series pilot that screamed typecast heartthrob, he burst through the door. Eyes wild. A six-pack dangling from one hand. They wants me. On site next month. No roaches in the walls. He cracked a beer. Foam spilling like overpromise. And collapsed onto the couch, pulling me down with him. His kiss tasted of hops and haste. Hands roaming urgent. But I pulled back. The city's heat mirroring the flush on his cheeks. And me? Heart in the script. Do I pack? Or wave from the platform? He deflated. Beer forgotten. Running hands through sweat-damp hair. Of course you come. But the we landed hollow. Echoing the early days when us meant stolen weekends. Not empires. Therapy helped. Our sessions now a ritual. Thursdays at 7. Dissecting dreams where I relived the video. Waking slick with phantom shame. You're projecting, the therapist would say gently. But validly. Trust rebuilds in actions. Not altitudes. Alex nodded. Earnest. Scheduling joint calls with his agent. Family package. Non-negotiable. Yet doubt lingered. A shadow in our lovemaking, tender one night, desperate the next. As if bodies could seal what words couldn't. Ellie jetted back for a long weekend, her presence a Midwestern whirlwind of apple pie and no bullshit talks. We three hit the high line, weaving through tourists and wildflowers, her arm looped in mine as Alex scouted skyline views for inspo. He's shiny again, she murmured, nodding at his animated pitch about pilot arcs. But shiny can blind. You seeing red flags? Or just flags? I laughed. Bittersweet. Plucking a daisy from the railings. Both. Trying therapy? Transparency. But LA? It's Sodom for dreamers. What if the city chews him up? Spits me out. She squeezed my elbow. Fierce. Then you bloom solo. You're Jackson Hale, editor of Souls. Brother to the best. Don't forget. That night. Over ribs at Sylvia's in Harlem, soul food heavy as history, Alex dropped the bomb. The pilot shoot was greenlit. 6 episodes. $10,000 per. Toasts clinked with plastic forks. But my smile strained. Visions of palm-lined betrayals flickering. Later, in bed with the fan whirring lazy circles, he traced my spine. Voice off. I turned it down. Shock bolted me upright. Sheets pooling like spilled secrets. What? Why? His grin, crooked and true, lit the dark. Because the script's heart, our heart, is here. In the grit. Says, Lena's got a feature lined up. Local. You and me. Co-producers. Relief crashed like a wave, pulling me under in kisses that felt like homecoming. August brought heat waves and breakthroughs. Out Loud dropped its season. My cuts earning shout-outs in reviews. Hale's editing breathes empathy into every frame. Theo's episode trended. Kids mang him thanks that had the center's phones ringing off the hook. Pride Afterglow lingered. But so did the underbelly, a protest downtown against cop violence at last year's march. Banners waving no justice, no rainbow. Alex and I marched, hands linked defiantly, his megaphone chants hoarse by day's end. This is why, he panted later, bandaging a scraped knee from the scrum. Art for change, not just clicks. I believed him, mostly, because in the march's roar, our steps synced, a rhythm unbreakable. But fall whispered warnings. Leaves turning traitor gold as Alex's feature gig ramped up. Echoes of Us. Lena's Baby, a docudrama on queer betrayals in the digital age. Starring. Not actors, but talking heads. Our story raw and unscripted. Catharsis, he called it. Filming in a loft studio off Bowery. Lights hot as interrogation rooms. First session. I froze under the lens. The video's ghost flashing, exposed again, but Alex's hand on my knee grounded me. His I got you a lifeline. We spilled, the hook of that 3am. Thrilled. The slow rebuild. The love that bent but didn't break. Lena's eyes gleamed. This is gold, human. Messy. Critics would later call it a masterclass in vulnerability, but in the moment, it was surgery, cutting open to heal. Crisis hit, not ours, but the city's. A hurricane skimmed the coast, flooding subways and knocking power for days. We hunkered in the apartment, candles flickering like fireflies. Takeout impossible, so we rationed canned soup and stories. Alex read from his notebook, half-formed scenes of us as anti-heroes, I edited on battery, splicing storm footage into a center PSA. Theo crashed one night, soaked and scared, his foster placement buckling under the chaos. Stay, we chorused. Foot on his throne. And in the lamplight, he sketched us, 3 figures tangled in yarn, labeled family. It hung on the fridge after, a talisman against the winds. Power returned with September's chill, and so did temptations. Javier texted Alex about a collaboration, some LA workshop. No strings, just growth. I saw the thread, jealousy flaring like a match. But therapy's tools kicked in to breathe. Communicate. Over coffee at Le Pain Quotidien, hipsters clacking laptops around us, I laid it bare. It scares me. Echoes of before. He deleted the chain on the spot. Phone slid across the table like surrender. You're my north. Compass boy. Laughter bubbled then, easing the knot. And we walked the village hand in hand, stealing gelato licks like teenagers. But high doesn't last without drop. The feature wrapped. Previews buzzing. But a rough cut leaked online, our rawest confessions. The video admission blurred but potent. Comments flooded, brave AF. But also trauma bait? And worse. Hot roommate drama? Link the vid? Alex raged. Lawyering up for takedowns, I spiraled. Calling Ellie at odd hours. Her block and breathe a mantra. Theo, wise beyond his years, slipped me a mixtape, songs for shitty days. Starting with Frank Ocean's Thinkin' About You. Art's messy, he shrugged. But you're still standing. Halloween hit with ironic flair, costumed as Brokeback Cowboys. A nod to endurance. The party at the duplex was a crush of glitter and gin. Lena toasting echoes with shots that burned sweet. Alex and I danced, bodies pressed in the throng. His whisper hot against my ear, forever starts tonight. But as midnight told, a drunk extra slurred too close. Heard you two are the real deal. That sleep vid? Legendary. The room spun, old shame surging. And I bolted to the alley, retching into shadows. Alex found me, coat draped over shivering shoulders. His I'm sorry a broken record. Not your fault, I gasped. But it was ours, the cost of sharing scars in a world that gawks. We cabbed home silent. The ride a confessional, me admitting the leak's trigger. Him vowing no more public us. Boundaries redrawn. Love refortified in private rites, morning coffees. Rooftop stargazing where constellations mocked our smallness. Winter crept in. Snow blanketing the fire escape like absolution. Echoes premiered at a queer film fest in Brooklyn. The house packed with faces that mirrored ours, hopeful, haunted. Standing ovations thundered. But our moment was the cue, hands clasped under the podium. Voices steady as we owned the mess. Betrayal shook me forever, I said. Eyes on Alex. But it taught me love's not perfect, it's persistent. Tears streaked cheeks in the crowd. Theo whooping from the back. Offers still came, LA's Sirens song louder post-premiere, but Alex anchored. Co-writing a youth center script with me. Theo's story at its core. Ellie visited for the screening. Hugging us fierce, proud doesn't cover it. And in the afterglow, as snow fell soft on the bridge, Alex proposed, not rings, but words, build a life. With me. I said yes. Heartful. Shaken but sure. New York's scars run deep. But so does its pulse, beating resilient, a queer hymn to trust reborn. The Ides of March blew in like a reckoning, crisp winds stripping Chelsea's galleries bare. But our world? It hummed with fragile momentum. Echoes of us snagged a festival award, a crystal dove etched with resilience, and suddenly, Alex was fielding podcast invites. His voice the new gospel for healing through hurt. I tag along sometimes, editing the feeds on the fly. But mostly, I stayed grounded, mornings at the youth center, afternoons splicing out loud season 2, evenings with Alex's head in my lap, his script drafts curling like smoke from the ashtray of our ambitions. Theo thrived. His drag shows packing the center stage, feathers and fire. A 17-year-old phoenix mocking the odds. You too inspired this, he told us one prep night. Lipstick smudged like war paint. Real love? It's drag, layered, unapologetic. We beam parents in all but blood. But his words lingered. A mirror to our own performance. Were we authentic? Or just rehearsing redemption? Spring equinox aligned with a crossroads. Lena called, Echoes shortlisted for Tribeca. The big leagues. With a catch, expand to feature length. Alex directing. MDP. Your eye. Jax, it's magic, she gushed over speakerphone. But the subtext screamed commitment. Alex's eyes lit like he'd won the lottery. But mine? They shadowed with the old calculus, exposure versus art. Think of the kids, he urged later. Over falafel at Mamoon's. The tiny spot spice cutting the doubt. Theo's arc could fund the center for a year. He wasn't wrong, visions of upgraded edit bays. Safe sleepovers for runaways, but trust's math never balances clean. We tabled it for therapy, our sage nodding over steaming mugs. Ambition amplifies shadows. Name them. So we did. My fear of being the boyfriend in the credits, his terror of stagnation turning toxic again. Homework, date night sans screens. Reclaiming the spark before scripts stole the stage. First was Coney Island. Off-season ghosts of laughter echoing on the boardwalk. Cotton candy stuck to fingers as we rode the Wonder Wheel. Gondola swaying high over Slate Atlantic. His head on my shoulder. Remember our first time here? Postcus? Sophomore year, terrified and thrilled. Sand in our shoes. Promises whispered against crashing waves. We're still that, I murmured. Kissing salt from his lips. Just with more mileage. But mileage means where? The leaks troll resurfaced, an alt account demanding Alex, loved your vid. Got more? Attached, doctored stills from the old nightmare. My face photoshopped onto worse. He showed me immediately, transparency's vow holding, but the hit landed like a sucker punch. Sending me spiraling into the bathroom. Door locked. Breaths shallow as a panic attack clawed up. He talked through the wood. Voice steady, breathe with me. For 6 out. You're safe. We're safe. Minutes stretched eternal. But his rhythm pulled me back. Collapsing into arms that smelled of home, coffee and cologne. The anchors of us. We reported it. Blocked it. But the ripple? It soured the Tribeca prep. Reshoots in a warehouse off the G train. Lights harsh as truth serum. And suddenly every take felt invasive, cameras devouring our scars. One night, poster. Javier crashed the edit session. Beers in hand. His hey. Partners warm but edged. Chemistry lingered from the play. A harmless spark turned bonfire in my paranoia. Alex laughed off a too close shoulder bump. But I excused early. Walking the bridge alone. Manhattan's lights a taunt. Trust or bust? Ellie sensed the fray from 500 miles away. FaceTiming at midnight. Spill. Checks. You're gray. But it trolls? Tensions? The terror of losing him to lights brighter than ours. He's all in, she affirmed. Pixelated fierce. But you're the constant. Decide if the ride's worth the rails. Her words marinated. Blooming into action, I drafted boundaries for Tribeca, no solo cast hangs. Full disclosure on DMs. Weekly check-ins like vital signs. May bloomed chaotic, center fundraisers with Theo emceeing in sequins. Out loud renewals with my name in the credits. Alex aced the expansion, weaving Theo's voice into our narrative. A trinity of survival. But the troll escalated, emails to his agent. Your boy's a star, leaked exclusives for sale. Legal barked back. Cease and desist flying like arrows. But the poison seeped. Alex withdrawing into revisions. Our bed a chasm of unspoken what-ifs. Climax crashed Memorial Day weekend. A cast retreat upstate. Lena's bonding at a cabin in the Catskills. Woods thick as secrets. I pushed for it, leaning. Not away, but en route. Rain lashed the van like judgment. Javier shotgun joking about method madness. Cabin fever set in fast. Bonfire stories turning confessional. Tequila loosening tongues. Alex and Javier demoed a scene, improv betrayal. Raw and real, and the air thickened. Their embrace lingering under firelight. Laughter too intimate. I slipped out. Wood swallowing my steps. Heart-hammering history repeats. Found them later, Alex alone by the lake. Skipping stones like regrets. Checks, wait, please stop me. Rain mingling with tears. It was nothing. Everything. I slipped, old habits. Seeking validation in eyes that aren't yours. Confession poured, Javier's flirt. Rebuffed but fed by Alex's ego. The echo of the video's desperation. I hate this part of me. The chaser? Not the chooser. I raged then, fists clenched. Words whips, you swore. After everything, the flash. The leaks. The rebuild. He took it. Broken open. Then pulled a USB from his pocket, deleted footage. His solo confession vid. For you. Only. No shares. No saves. My truth. Dawn broke merciful. Retreat cut short. Back in the city. We quarantined, no touches. Just talks, in therapy's war room. Betrayal's a cycle, the sage said. Break it with choice. Alex chose, quitting the pilot residuals. Funneling award cash to the center. I chose, co-directing Tribeca. But with kill switches, my veto on any frame that felt off. Theo mediated unwittingly. His drag brunch invite pulling us into laughter. Mimosas washing wounds. June's solstice crowned the chaos. Tribeca submission accepted. Premiere date locked. Rehearsals for the expanded cut were exorcisms, framing our pain as power. Theo's cameo a spark of joy. The troll went dark. Traced to a bitter ex of Javier's. Justice a quiet click of cuffs in some precinct. Pride swelled the streets. Rainbows riotous. And we marched again. Alex's arm around me. Theo on our shoulders, family forged in fire. Premiere night, Angelica Film Center. Red carpet a blur of flashes that once terrified but now thrilled. Suit starched. Hands clasped. We walked into applause that thrummed like vindication. The screening? Cathartic gut wrench, gasps at the betrayal reveal. Sniffles at the rebuild. Cheers for Theo's I'm here. Kyun flowed, how'd you survive? Alex, by choosing each other. Daily. Me, and community, the Theos. The Ellies. Love's not solo. After party at a rooftop in Soho. Stars pricking the smog. Deals whispered but deferred. Ellie toasted from afar via text. My boys, unbreakable. Marcus swung by. Bro hug solid, proud. Real proud. And as dawn pinked the horizon, Alex and I slipped away to our fire escape. City humming lullaby below. Shaken forever, he murmured, echoing the title that started it all. But standing. With you. I nodded. Compass tattoo warm under his palm. Betrayal's scar? It ached? A forever reminder, but so did love's map. Guiding through storms. New York's endless reinvention mirrored ours, gritty, gorgeous, unyieldingly human. We trusted, shattered, rebuilt, not perfect, but persistent. In the quiet, his kiss a vow renewed. I whispered back, forever starts now, and for once, the city believed us too.